Breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking news this noon, the Supreme Court upholds a gun control law intended to protect domestic violence victims. The decision comes on the heels of the High Court overturning a ban on rapid-fire gun accessories.
And dangerous heat is headed our way for the weekend. Sunday and Monday will be WRAL weather alert days. I'll show you how hot it will feel.
Also, there are numerous events going on this weekend outdoors. What organizers are doing to make sure the public is staying safe.
We'll get to the Supreme Court ruling in just a minute, but first we need to address another big story, the heat out there. Our WRAL weather team has declared Sunday and Monday will be WRAL weather alert days. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey in for Nate Chu. Thanks for joining us. Tens of millions of Americans across the country are under heat warnings, and dangerous heat is in our forecast for the weekend. Elizabeth Gardner is on the WRAL weather patio with a look at how hot it'll feel for the next few days.
So we're talking about a heat index in the triple digits, and this is something that we haven't seen yet this year. Heat is something that our bodies can somewhat get accustomed to. And of course, we're coming out of spring and into our first heat wave of the summer. So our bodies are not adjusted to it just yet. So Sunday and Monday will be WRAL weather alert days. We're looking at highs in the upper 90s both days with a heat index at 105 or hotter. Typically, the Weather Service will put us under a heat advisory with those conditions. So we'll let you know when that happens. Here's what you can do to stay safe. Just stay inside between noon and 7 p.m. If you can't do that, then we'll talk about some tips of ways that you can stay safer. This is going to cover all of central North Carolina. We take a look at this heat wave developing. 89 is our normal high. Today's high 93, but by tomorrow 96, 97 on Sunday, 98 on Monday, and it doesn't stop there. Coming up, we're going to talk more about what happens later next week. It gets to be sort of an interesting pattern for us. We take a look at our high heat index. It'll feel like 102 Saturday, 107 Sunday, and 107 Monday. And that's why Sunday and Monday are, of course, WRAL weather alert days. We check out what you can do. One thing, know when you have, know when you're suffering from heat exhaustion or when a friend or family member is. It involves cramps, fatigue, confusion, and other symptoms. What you can do to stay safe, obviously, stay hydrated and stay in the shade. But if you can stay indoors between noon and 7 o'clock, it will certainly help the situation. We may have some rain on the way. We're taking a look at our tropical outlook off the coast of the southeast. There's a 60% chance of this developing into potentially a tropical depression. I'll show you where it's headed and whether or not it'll affect us coming up.
Those extreme temperatures and plenty of outdoor events can be a dangerous equation this weekend. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is at Dix Park right now, where crews are already preparing for weekend events. Sean, if it's not already, it is going to be scorching hot this weekend.
Yeah, you got that right, Jeff. And here at Dix Park, there are crews already setting up for the Soul Picnic, which is sure to be a hot event itself. They've got Grammy-nominated artist Music Soul Child and the Chuck Brown Band performing at this. But it will be important for people to stay safe from the extreme heat. This weekend sure to be a busy one across the Triangle with events like this one at Dix Park and the Out Pride Festival, among many others. With temperatures soaring into the 90s this weekend, Vicki Huffman with Wake County EMS says they're expecting heat-related calls to go up, but you can take control and prevent yourself from falling victim.
So the best advice would be to make sure that you have loose clothing. That way it's not extremely hot on you. Also having adequate and good sun protection. So sunscreen, also having a hat on to make sure you can kind of cool some of that down. But the biggest thing is making sure that you drink enough water and that you have enough water on hand, especially if you're going to be outside for that long.
And Wake EMS says they're always at these larger events, so you can keep a lookout for them if you're at any of these events, if you're in any need of help. Now, back out here live at Dix Park, it might sound like common sense, but Vicki says any chance you can get, you want to try to get a break from the heat, find some shade, and of course, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. That is the most important thing on weekends like this, to get water in your system. Sean Gallagher, WRAL News, Raleigh.
And with triple-digit heat indexes expected this weekend, Wake County is opening temporary cooling stations to help people escape the sweltering temperatures. Wake County Public Libraries will be open tomorrow at noon and remain available at least through Monday, depending on the forecast. Please check online or call to make sure your facility is open. Regional centers and Health and Human Services centers will be open Monday at 8:30 a.m.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Lovingood in the WRAL Live Center. Following some breaking news within the past 30 minutes, you may have seen it. The Supreme Court has upheld a gun control law that was intended to protect domestic violence victims. We're talking about a decision that was split 8-1. Judge Clarence Thomas was the only one who was dissenting from this particular situation here. This is all centering around a law that was from 1994, banning firearms for people who are under restraining orders, and they had to stay away from their spouses or partners. Now, what happened today is essentially reversing a ruling from a federal appeals court in Louisiana. But the idea here is that if somebody is being under a restraining order and they have access to these weapons, this will reduce the likelihood that they could commit some sort of violent act on their spouse or their partner.
Also breaking news this noon. Within the last hour, Governor Roy Cooper vetoed a bill that would change the rules for wearing masks in public. That bill also contains more strict penalties for protesters, and it would change campaign finance laws ahead of this year's elections. Cooper's main opposition is to the campaign finance change. Cooper says it will create a gaping loophole around existing laws that limit how much money politicians can take and from whom. Republican state lawmakers have said the move will help even the playing field this fall for their nominee, Mark Robinson. He trails Democratic nominee Josh Stein in fundraising.
6 people were shot in 2 incidents in Durham last night. 2 people have life-threatening injuries, one of them a 2-year-old little girl. We have team coverage of the violence in the Bull City. Ken Smith is live in our newsroom with Durham Mayor Leonardo Williams' response. But we begin with Monica Casey. She's live in Durham after speaking with people at one of those shooting scenes. Monica, they're shaken up.
Yeah, Michelle, this most recent shooting happened at 3:30 this morning here at the intersection of Fayetteville Street and Linwood Avenue. You can see pieces of the crime scene tape are still here on this pole. We know 3 people were shot here. 2 men and 1 woman were found. Both men are expected to be okay, but that woman has life-threatening injuries. Police are also investigating another shooting near an apartment complex south of town where 3 more people were shot, leaving a 2-year-old girl with life-threatening injuries. Now, we spoke with a man who lives in this area who tells us he hears so much gunfire, he didn't even notice anything unusual last night. The violence here has changed how he lives in his home.
Do is I moved to the back of my house. I stay upstairs, but I moved to the living room area. Hopefully that no shots come to my front room.
That first shooting last night happened around 8:15 in the 1400 block of Cornwallis Road. That location is south of downtown Durham. We know a 22-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman had minor injuries in that shooting, but a 2-year-old girl had life-threatening injuries. No arrests in either of these cases yet. In Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Now to Mayor Leonardo Williams, who is at a mayor's conference in Kansas City. And like many of us, he woke up to this news and said he was extremely frustrated by the gun violence in his city. WRAL's Ken Smith continues our team coverage with a conversation he had with the mayor about this, Ken.
You know, Jeff, you could hear the frustration in the mayor's voice, even more so because he's not in Durham, but at that U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting in Kansas City. Well, this shooting that we just told you about, one of 2, Monica detailed the other one that happened just a little while ago. It's just the latest string of gun-related incidents in Durham. So far this year, the city has already surpassed the number of people shot in both 2022 and 2023. At least 130 people so far have been shot because of gun violence. Well, Mayor Williams says he still believes the city can curb this gun violence, but it will take a concerted effort by everyone.
There was a young lady's home who does reentry. Her home was shot up last night. Her headboard was literally a stray bullet went through her home and hit a headboard about 6 inches from someone's head who's a resident in her home. I woke up, I'm in Kansas City. I spoke to her this morning and she said, Mayor Williams, I want to do whatever I can to help you curb this gun violence in this city. That's what gives me hope.
Mayor Williams says he will continue to apply political pressure and reach out to the community for help in reducing gun violence. Coming up in our next half hour, Raleigh Mayor Mary Ann Baldwin will join us live from Kansas City to talk about some of the issues the capital city is facing, including crime and affordable housing. Ken Smith, WRAL News in the newsroom.
Ken, I want to go ahead and interrupt here and show this to our viewers in Durham because we need to tell you about a situation unfolding. There is a situation of low pressure and outages regarding water in the city of Durham unfolding right now. This is the area we're talking about. It's north of I-85 and west of Business 501. And I actually have a map here to show you specifically where I'm talking about that. Those areas in the stripes are the areas that are affected by this. Periods of low pressure in the distribution center is increasing the risk of water becoming contaminated with bacteria. And so the Division of Water Resources is advising that when water is finally restored, that you boil your water before you consume it. We're talking about at least a minute of boiling that water before it's used.
All right, thanks, Chris. An NC State swimmer is headed to Paris for the Summer Olympics. She made the cut for Team USA. Catherine Burkhoff performed well in the 100-meter backstroke. She took second place in the finals, clocking in at 57.91 seconds. Burkhoff follows in the footsteps of her father, David. He is a four-time Olympic medalist, two of which are in the 100-meter backstroke. And Carrie's Claire Curzan will race in the final heat for the 200-meter backstroke tonight. She finished second in her semifinal heat last night. There were two other Wolfpack elite swimmers competing in the same category, Ryan White and Kennedy Noble. Both women also advanced to the finals tonight. The Olympic swimming trials continue through Sunday. You can watch it all on WRAL.
Also tonight, Michelle, the U.S. Olympic track and field trials get started. They're happening at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon through June 30th. Coverage starts tonight at 9 right here on WRAL. Meantime, next at noon, year 12 of Out Raleigh Pride Festival. What to expect from the downtown event? We'll have a live interview next.
Also, the recall of more than 500,000 blenders, the injuries to people using them, and what to do if you have one.
Plus, former President Donald Trump is trying to get his classified documents case thrown out of a Florida court. At 12:30, the decision he's also waiting on from the Supreme Court.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Take back Title IX is the message from a coalition of athletes, coaches, and advocates who are on a national tour opposing changes to the policy. The Biden administration recently rewrote the law prioritizing gender identity over sex. The group is called Our Bodies, Our Sports. It made a stop in Chapel Hill last night. Former UNC women's basketball coach Sylvia Hatchell joined them. She says it comes down to a fairness issue. We spoke with a representative from the National Center for Transgender Equality who said rhetoric like this is harmful to trans athletes.
To say we should have our community separated from cisgender community in terms of the sports world, it goes against what Title IX stands for.
If female athletes have to play transgenders, that it's not fair and it's not equal and it's not anywhere close to being a level playing field.
The new Title IX rules also require schools to take immediate action to end any sex discrimination and protect against retaliation for exercising rights. The changes go into effect August 1st.
Out Raleigh Pride is returning tomorrow for the 12th year. The event raises funds to support the LGBTQ Center of Raleigh. And joining us to talk about what you can expect is Jose Harvey with us this afternoon, who serves on the Board of Trustees for the center. Jose, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, this is such a cool event. It's been going on for 12 years. How has it evolved over the past decade?
Yeah, when it sort of started, it was much smaller. Mm-hmm. Now we expect upwards of over 90,000 people tomorrow. We had about that many last year, and it just seems to keep growing and growing and growing.
And how so? What can people expect when they come to the event?
So we have all kinds of vendors. They're going to be small businesses. They're going to be big businesses. A ton of healthcare providers are going to be there to talk about the different services they offer our community. We have a kids zone, and there will be a main stage with all kinds of performances throughout the day.
That's really fun. And when we were speaking earlier, I said this is probably family friendly, and you said absolutely it is.
Oh yeah, this event is totally family friendly. It's really focused on the diversity of families. Mm-hmm. So we welcome all families to this event.
That's great. And talk about the vendors that'll be there.
All right. So we have plenty of small businesses. You will find anything from small makers, small creators, and then we have larger businesses, bars. A lot of the local bars along Fayetteville Street are also participating.
Okay.
So they'll be involved, and Yeah, there's just a really big diversity of vendors.
That's great. And there will also be music and a children's zone, perfect for families, like we were talking about.
Yeah, the children's zone, it's grown each year. There's all kinds of activities. There'll be a drag queen story hour and different activities, face painting and stuff like that. On the main stage, we'll have tons of performers, lots of local queer performers, but we'll also have some pretty famous performers from RuPaul's Drag Race.
That's so awesome. And I know you were talking about a brand new community center as well. Tell us about that.
Yes, so we started working on building a brand new community center this year. Of course, that costs a lot of money. So we will have a booth set up at the event on the courthouse steps where we'll be accepting donations, and people can see our vision for the center that will be opening hopefully by next year in downtown Raleigh.
Oh, that's incredible. Amazing. Well, Out Raleigh Pride takes place tomorrow from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. It's on Fayetteville Street. It's going to be a great time. Jose Harvey, thank you so much for joining us. All the best to you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Stay hydrated, y'all. Clear skies tonight will make for great viewing of the June full moon, known as the strawberry moon. Full moons during the growing season are often named after the crops that are harvested that month. This month's full moon comes just a day after the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year. So tonight is one of the shortest nights of the year for us to enjoy that time of seeing the full moon out there. It is quite beautiful, no doubt. If it's possible to enjoy the sunshine, Elizabeth Gardner is doing it out on the WRAL weather patio right now. Elizabeth.
You know, it's definitely going to be a hot afternoon, but it feels much like it did yesterday where the humidity is on the moderate side. So, you know, I'm doing okay standing here on the patio. One thing that would help our hot situation is to have a system come through to bring us some rain. So we're focused pretty heavily on this system that's developing off the coast of Florida. Very quickly, it looks like it's going to move on shore. But earlier this morning, the hurricane hunters went in and did a little observation to see if there was a closed circulation, to see if it was going to end up developing into a tropical system. It looks like there is a small chance that it could become a tropical depression. They did notice a little bit of circulation, but the winds when they were in the storm were only 35 miles per hour, and they would have to be 39 miles per hour for it to be a tropical storm. So there is a 60% chance that it develops into a tropical depression. It does look like it would make landfall and move inland just too quickly for it to become strong enough for a tropical storm. But we take a look at the model plots, and it's kind of interesting to see. Looks like it comes inland around northern Florida, southern Georgia, and kind of makes a turn up the coast of North Carolina. Just looking at that, you might think, oh, well, surely we're going to get some rain. But none of the computer models are very interested in that. Take a look at what happens here on Futurecast. This is right now, and it's a low pressure system sitting off the coast. By the time we get to 8 or 9 o'clock this evening, it's gone. It's just dissipated into a little bit of a wave where there's some rain that's around Jacksonville up into Georgia toward Atlanta. This is 6 o'clock on Saturday, and then it's pretty much over with. Now, one thing that we're picking up is by Sunday, a little bit of moisture starts to shift northward. So there may be a sea breeze front along the coast. We're not likely to see any of that rain. Our next best chance comes on Monday with a cold front. That cold front by 2 or 3 in the afternoon does show signs of bringing some showers and storms to our area. That'll be our next best chance of seeing any rain. It does not look like that tropical system is going to really do anything for us except push some humidity. We're going to have some tropical moisture, not in the form of rain, but in the form of a much more humid air mass. All right, let's take another look at the Gulf Coast. This is where Tropical Storm Alberto formed earlier in the week. A 60% chance that this one develops. And certainly we do see that on the computer models. The model plots have this making landfall at the same place as Alberto, which did produce a lot of flooding and damage to parts of Mexico. It does look like we'll have some rain with this as it starts to move onshore. You can see that circulation forming by tomorrow morning and evening. And then it moves onshore, bringing some rain to Texas, but probably a good bit of rain again to Mexico, where they've already had some flooding. They can see 5+ inches down in Mexico, but maybe 2 inches in the southern part of Texas. All right, back to our heat thread. It is a WRAL weather alert day for both Sunday and Monday because the heat index could be as high as 105 to 107. Saturday's high 97 and Sunday's high 98. So the highs won't be that different, but we're going to see a surge of tropical moisture that comes in on Sunday that really bumps up that heat index. So it'll feel like like 107 versus 102 or 103 that we'll see on Saturday. Now, the heat continues next week. We have our eye on Wednesday with a high of 100. There's a good possibility that that could be a WRAL weather alert day as well. But a lot of things are going to happen next week. First, that cold front on Monday, and then another system a little later in the week around Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll talk more about that coming up. In a few minutes, we'll talk more also about the heat index as we go through the next few days and how you can stay cool and protect yourself from this dangerous heat.
All right, we will prepare and get ready for it. We've had a few days of it already. It's going to get a little easier to get a passport on short notice. Where North Carolina is expected its first passport agency office to pop up. That story's coming up.
And the IRS is denying tens of thousands of business tax credit applications. Why they say fraud is at the center of this sweeping denial.
Hackers are reportedly selling off consumer data from Quote Wizard as part of the Snowflake scam. Quote Wizard is a unit of LendingTree that provides quotes and rates on all types of insurance policies. LendingTree is investigating the incident and will notify all customers affected by it when that investigation is complete. The U.S. State Department is opening 6 new passport agencies, including one in the Queen City. The new facilities will be located in Charlotte, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Orlando, Salt Lake City, and San Antonio. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the new facilities will help people with urgent travel needs. They're also testing an updated online passport renewal program. We still don't know the addresses or opening dates for those new locations.
The IRS is denying tens of thousands of claims for the Employee Retention Tax Credit. The Internal Revenue Service made the announcement saying there are too many high-risk or fraudulent claims by pop-up markets and firms. The IRS says it's getting about 17,000 claims weekly. The agency will deny claims that says are improper and will start paying out approved claims that are more than 9 months old. Vitamix announced a recall of nearly 570,000 blending containers and blade bases because people are getting large cuts. The recall said the base and container can separate, exposing the blades. Vitamix is not offering replacements or a refund. Instead, customers are asked to immediately stop using the recalled part and contact Vitamix for a repair kit.
A major day in the race for the White House. Less than a week before these two men meet on stage for the first time in 4 years, the ruling that could have a major effect on the race.
Plus, a new smartphone app designed to save lives. How the new smartphone edition could detect stroke and speed up critical first aid times. And as we head to break, here are your winning lottery numbers. Good luck.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Welcome back. It could be a dramatic day for former President Donald Trump. He's awaiting his fate from the Supreme Court, weighing whether he's immune from prosecution for what he did as president while preparing for next week's debate with President Biden.
All this comes as his lawyers in Florida are trying to get his classified documents court case dismissed. Caroline Shively reports.
From the cash to the courts, Friday is shaping up to be one of the most consequential days of the entire 2024 campaign. First up, former President Trump's lawyers arguing in Florida that the 40 charges against him in the classified documents case should be dismissed.
This is a classified information case. They're very hard to get to trial.
On the fundraising front, new campaign filings indicate Trump has outraised President Biden for the second month in a row. While Democrats are quick to point out that Trump still trails President Biden in cash on hand, Republicans predict the trend could continue.
When you talk about fundraising numbers, this is an area where Biden has had an advantage for quite some time, right? And Trump has been falling behind a bit on that front, and he has to use some of those funds for the legal issues as well. It seems to be being cured a bit.
President Biden is spending the day in Delaware preparing for the first debate next Thursday. It's a rematch from 4 years ago, but unlikely to be quite as feisty.
There are rules this time for moderation and for turning off the other candidate's mic when they speak out of turn or speak too long. That gives me some hope that the average viewer might actually get to hear a clear contrast.
That's Caroline Shively reporting, and this is all happening as a new poll has come out this week. It shows President Biden pulling ahead of Trump for the first time since October, leading 50 to 48%. Next week, First Lady Jill Biden will visit North Carolina. She will travel to Charlotte Tuesday. She'll be in our state to deliver remarks at a political finance event. The visit comes just a couple days before the presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump.
The state treasurer is defending himself. He was accused of using his state vehicle for personal use. He's also getting support from the former state auditor. You may remember Beth Wood crashed a state-issued vehicle into a parked car after a holiday party. Then a state investigation found that she was using state-owned vehicles for personal trips. Now state treasurer Dale Folwell faces similar accusations. Wood says there are too many inconsistencies in how the state oversees this.
I, for 14 years, turned in mileage logs. Dale Folwell, for 8 years, has turned in mileage logs. And department administration staff never once brought it to our attention that we were doing something wrong. Not sloppiness on our part, no. It was trusting that people around us were doing their job.
Folwell released a statement last night saying his staff is assisting in compiling documentation to fully answer any outstanding questions and that he tried to be very careful in following published guidance.
Some families are seeing a big cut in student financial aid, and they weren't ready for it. The free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, has gone through some big changes this year. The intent was to simplify the application process for federal financial aid and make more lower-income students eligible for it. 5 on your side's Keely Arthur explains some folks are getting less money.
Catherine Mueller helps families complete the FAFSA, and this year she's been busy.
A lot of changes, so it's been complicated for some.
The botched rollout of the FAFSA form earlier this year meant students have been waiting longer than usual to find out if they can afford a particular college. Now, families are getting those long-awaited financial offers.
They may look a little different, particularly for those students who are currently in college and have been in college, than what they've received in the past.
The FAFSA formula change makes lower-income students eligible for aid like Pell Grants that don't have to be paid back. But more middle-income families are now expected to contribute more. Here's an example. In the past, if FAFSA determined your family had $10,000 to spend on tuition, that number would be split between the number of siblings in college, commonly known as the sibling discount. Now, if FAFSA determines you have that same $10,000 for tuition, there is no discount, and each sibling would be expected to spend $10,000 on tuition.
Many people are surprised about that.
5 on Your Side found posting about it on social media, so we asked several universities what they were seeing. UNC said it was too soon to know. NC State declined to comment. North Carolina Central told us no matter what school you attend, the financial aid office is a critical resource.
We're always available during office hours to speak to parents and students and help them and walk them through the process.
Keely Arthur, 5 on Your Side.
Remember, you can always appeal a decision on your financial aid offer, and it's worth it to continue to check in with your financial aid office to see what funding is available.
Jeff, I want to pull our viewers into the WRAL Live Center to look at this live feed of right now. This is James Martin II. He was elected Chancellor of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University today. The University of North Carolina Board of Governors made that call. Martin is a civil engineer who has led engineering and STEM initiatives at 3 large public research universities. He also served 4 years as the U.S. Steele Dean of Engineering in Pittsburgh's Swanson School of Engineering. So we'll definitely be watching to see what sort of policies and such are enacted because he is now chancellor. But there he is right there, James Martin II.
WNBA star Angel Reese is showing up and showing off the record she set on the court last night.
And more people are becoming sober curious. We'll tell you what it is and the reason behind it. For news, traffic, and weather of the day, be sure to download the WRAL News app. 800,000 people in the U.S. suffer from a stroke every year. Roughly 137,000 of those patients die. An international team of biomedical engineers developed a smartphone app. It could help first responders detect stroke in just seconds. It uses the power of AI to scan a face and has been proven to be about 82% effective. Time is of the essence when diagnosing a stroke.
Time lost is brain lost because in some studies, we see that upwards of 2 million brain cells are lost every minute when somebody's having a stroke.
Developers say they're eager to partner with healthcare providers to tailor the app to specific needs. To be clear, this is not a replacement for comprehensive tests for stroke patients in hospitals.
More than 40% of Americans say they want to drink less this year. The Sober Curious movement is helping some people rethink their relationship with alcohol. It's all about being mindful of when you choose to drink instead of doing it out of habit. The $923 million non-alcoholic beverage industry is expected to almost double in the next 4 years.
There's no safe amount of alcohol to consume. There's no healthy amount to consume, but that doesn't mean that consuming it automatically means somebody has a substance use disorder.
Zero Proof Nation tracks all the non-alcoholic bottle shops and sober bars around the world. And they have determined in 2019 there were 0 NA bottle shops, and now there are more than 300 worldwide, and more sober bars are popping up across the country as well.
Coming up, Prince William leaps into another year with his children by his side. The photographer behind this fun family photo.
Plus, Angel Reese delivers another strong performance on the hard court, setting a WNBA rookie record and snapping a losing streak for the Chicago Sky. The stats that put her in that rare air.
Welcome back on your toasty Friday afternoon as you look live at the WRAL Tower. This is a look over southeast Wake County. You're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. And Elizabeth Gardner is in those toasty conditions right now on the WRAL weather patio. It's only going to get hotter out there.
You know, it's just fine right now compared to what we're going to see over the weekend when it is going to be dangerously hot. In the shade, it's fine. Our dew points are still, mid 60s, which is okay. It's just when the dew point climbs into the 70s that it feels oppressive and your skin just can't cool itself like it normally does if it's not as humid. Here's a look at the WRAL Gardens, looking beautiful. We've got folks out there looking like they're taking some photos. So it's nice out here. 88 degrees. Our temperatures will climb into the low 90s this afternoon. We have fairly light winds. A high of 93 this afternoon in Durham and Raleigh, and 94 in Fayetteville. The sky looks beautiful. We took a look at that tall tower cam over Wake County. Man, blue skies and just a few puffy cumulus clouds. Our dew point's sitting at 65. It's going to creep to steamy tomorrow and then tropical on both Sunday and Monday. And that's why we're so concerned about dangerous heat. So today it creeps on up. We'll be at humid Saturday and then tropical Sunday and Monday. It may drop back a little bit on Tuesday. So we may not be in that danger zone on Tuesday, but we'll probably be back into it on Wednesday with the triple-digit temperatures. So to our north, in the northeast and parts of the Ohio Valley, we've had a heat advisory, which is the orange shaded area, for the last several days. I mean, it's been 3-4 days with excessive heat warnings in a few places, and a part of just east of D.C. is an excessive heat watch. So for us, Saturday, 96, 97 Sunday, close to records. Our record high 100 for Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to be near record heat. But the biggest thing is going to be we're going to be near dangerous conditions again Sunday and Monday. Take a look at Saturday's heat risk. This is a risk of heat-related injuries. And so that's what we're talking about here. A pocket there in Raleigh and Fayetteville at red, which is going to feel like around 105. The rest of the viewing area, feeling more like 100. And then on Sunday, the entire viewing area is red with a heat index at 105 or hotter. And then the same thing again on Monday. Most most of the area is in red. So we do have that heat threat. It's going to feel like 105 to 107 Sunday and Monday. And so that's why we have a WRAL weather alert day. So what does that mean? Highs will be in the upper 90s with a heat index at 105 or hotter between noon and 7. And that's just a time when you'll be better off staying inside. This is going to be for all of central North Carolina, all of our viewing area for Sunday and Monday, but it may vary for us some next week. 89 is our normal high. We'll see 93 today, and then we're in that extreme heat starting Saturday, continuing into next week. But the heat index will only be in the danger zone Sunday and Monday, at least between now and Tuesday. That 107 puts us in the realm of a heat advisory. And so we're waiting to see if the Weather Service will issue those, and we feel like they probably will. Here's the thing about dangerous heat. Be aware of the symptoms of heat exhaustion, and those include cramps, fatigue, confusion, nausea, anything like that, where you're just not feeling good because you've been outside. That's when you need to seek some help. So again, stay hydrated in the shade, and then stay indoors from noon to 7 if at all possible on Sunday and Monday. We take a look at our tropical outlook, of course, and that may send a little bit of rain in our direction, but most likely we're not going to have much of a chance until we get to Monday. So heat advisory criteria is going to be 104 to 109, and that looks likely for both Sunday and Monday. Excessive heat warning may not be as likely. Of course, these hot temperatures will continue well into next week and all the way really through the end of June with above normal potential. We're going to see 100 on Wednesday most likely. That's our forecast. Last time we had triple digits was September 7th of last year when we hit 102. Taking a look at Carolina Beach, it looks lovely. Maybe you'd like to escape to the beach to get away from the heat, but look at this. Our rip current danger all along the coast is high right now and is likely to stay high through the weekend. So if you do go to the beaches, you really can't get in the water. We've had a lot of rescues along our coast the last few days. Take a look at that 7-day forecast one more time. Sunday and Monday, it's a WRAL weather alert day with that chance of some high heat, and of course looking at maybe a little bit of a drop by next Thursday.
Right now, more than 200 mayors are gathering in Kansas City, Missouri for the 92nd Annual U.S. Conference of Mayors. They'll be discussing some of today's most pressing issues. Earlier in this newscast, we heard from Durham Mayor Leonardo Williams. And now we welcome Raleigh Mayor Marianne Baldwin to the newscast live from Kansas City. Thank you so much for joining us, Mayor. Mayor, what do you see as the most pressing issue here in the capital city?
Housing, housing, housing. It's what everybody is talking about here. And it's not just large cities and growing cities, it's all cities of every shape and size. Attended a session yesterday on homelessness, and that's probably the most urgent need that we all have. How do we address that? How can HUD work with us and other federal agencies to improve our response and make us, and also how can we be more innovative? So those are some of the major topics of discussion.
In New Bern Avenue, New Bern Crossings, I know you're aware of 192 units there, some set aside for people at risk of homelessness. Are there more plans for things like this in our future?
That is my hope. We are in conversations right now with potential for 2 more hotel conversions that we could use for transitional housing, get people in shelters, get them off the streets, help them to really rebuild their lives. And that's, again, what a lot of the mayors were talking about. How can we be innovative in doing this? Is it manufactured homes? Hotel conversions tend to be more expensive, but they also, you have to have services wrapped around all this, and that's all key.
I know public transit is a concern of yours. In what way, Mayor?
Well, I see there's roads. Everybody wants to talk about road construction. And, the fact of the matter is you can widen roads, but it just leads to more congestion. It's not the answer. And we really have to start looking at how we can build better transit systems. We're focused heavily on bus rapid transit, but one of my big things is regional rail. Commuter rail kind of fell by the wayside. We don't have the same commuting patterns we did after COVID, but regional rail in the Triangle has really taken off. The last time I rode the train to Charlotte, it was packed. Like, I don't think there was a seat left. And coming back, it was equally packed. When I took the train to Greensboro to go talk to the Greensboro City Council at their retreat, taking the train back and forth, I was like, oh, this won't be packed. It was. There's a demand. People want these alternatives. The train that Amtrak did to Pinehurst for the U.S. Open, they sold that out in record time. So I want us to look more at how we can continue to focus on bus rapid transit, build that ridership, and focus on regional rail. An important component of that, too, is how can we get people out to the airport? And I think that BRT lines there could be very helpful.
Mayor, I know you're very busy with this conference, so we appreciate a few minutes of your time on this Friday afternoon. Mayor Marianne Baldwin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up, it appears the sky is the limit for Chicago's rookie star Angel Reese. The new record the WNBA player set as she prepares to face her college nemesis. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
The Supreme Court has upheld a federal gun control law. It's intended to protect victims of domestic violence. The justices ruled 8-1 in favor of a 1994 ban on firearms for people under restraining orders to stay away from their spouses or partners. The justices reversed a ruling from the Federal Appeals Court in New Orleans that had struck down the law.
6 people were shot in 2 incidents in Durham last night. 2 people have life-threatening injuries, one of them a 2-year-old girl. So far this year, the city has already surpassed the number of people shot in both 2022 and 2023. At least 130 people so far this year. Police have not made any arrests in connection to last night's shootings.
Within the last hour, Governor Roy Cooper vetoed a bill that would change the rules for wearing masks in public. That bill also contains more strict penalties for protesters, and it would change campaign finance laws ahead of this year's elections. Cooper's main opposition is to the campaign finance change. The governor says it will create a gaping loophole around existing laws.
Today is Prince William's 42nd birthday. His family marked the occasion by posting a fun photo of him jumping off a sand dune, holding the hands with his kids, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Princess Louis. The post was captioned, "Happy birthday, Papa. We love you so much." The Prince and Princess Kate have a tradition of sharing photos on birthdays and holidays.
Rookie Angel Reese set a WNBA rookie record Thursday as the Chicago Sky eased past the Dallas Wings 83-72. Reese finished with 16 points and a season-high 18 rebounds for the Sky. She's the first rookie in history to record 7 consecutive double-doubles. The former LSU star passed Tina Charles and Cindy Brown to take the title. Reese and Caitlin Clark face again this Sunday.
It's time for our pet of the day. This is Maurice. He's a 5-year-old dog that loves to cuddle. He's 55 pounds. He's a big teddy bear. He prefers to lounge around, is very friendly with strangers and other dogs. He is big on treats and is easily trained. If you'd like Maurice, you can call